All right, welcome to Leaf Blower City, also known as Olympia, Washington, the state capital of the great state of Washington, which I'm visiting for a long weekend, and decided on the way back from Seattle that I would stop by this very impressive building. It's constant taxpayer-funded maintenance, and talk about, yeah, this is, let me get somewhere else and continue doing this. That's probably a good time to see how well this microphone works. In case any of this turns out in post-production, what I'm using is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. If the leaf blowers aren't too bad in the background, because I am recording this with the wireless DJI microphone that came with the creator's kit, which is a lovely thing, and it was one of the main reasons I upgraded. So if you've watched any of Nerdsteading, and according to YouTube stats, most people haven't, I shoot most of that on the DJI Pocket 2. The Pocket line of cameras are basically gimbals from drone heads that DJI is famous for making, mounted on tiny little sticks that you carry around in your hand, like an actual camera. And they track things, like this is using intelligent tracking to center my face on the frame. Oh, I'm backlit by the sun. This is also going to test the 10-bit recording depth and 1-inch sensor. That is another big reason for picking up the Pocket 3. 1-inch sensor is equivalent to something you might find on, like, I don't know, like an actual good photography camera, like a Sony. Some Fujis, I think, have 1-inch sensors. Anyway, it's a major upgrade from the sensor I had on the Pocket 2. I shot some footage in the shop before I sold my Pocket 2 off to kind of compare. I locked the ISO and shutter values constant so that the camera's automatic exposure was then being tested. And you can see the difference in the footage very, very clearly, that there's just, everything's better. It's lower noise, it's better brightness in dark situations. My shop isn't particularly dark, but it's not lit like a studio. So I thought it was kind of a good test for that. But yeah, having this microphone, it does a couple of things. One, as I'm recording, it's wirelessly transmitting, it's syncing up without any kind of optional dongles. The DJI microphones use the built-in wireless capabilities of the Pocket 3, and they just seamlessly sync. One comes in the creator's pack, and you can buy a second one and very quickly pair it. It's actually less complicated than getting Bluetooth to work with your phone. The other thing is it does something called float recording. So float is basically 32-bit audio depth. Most of the time, most videos you watch on YouTube are 16-bit depth. If people get fancy, it's 24-bit. But most of the time, CD audio, most MP3s, 16-bit depth. 32-bit depth means you have a lot more headroom, so that if the volume wasn't properly adjusted on your original recording, you can boost those bits up and not suffer a lot of noise, which is normally what you get when you have a low recording with 16-bit depth. You try to bring the volume up, and all you do is make the noise floor louder. Now, if everything goes right in the recording, those are just backups. But the cool thing is, if I was using, say, an independent audio recorder, like one of my old Tascam units or a Zoom H6, I'd have to manually sync the footage up. Because these are wirelessly connected by the same brand, every time I hit record on the camera here, it starts recording on the wireless mic and then stops recording when the camera stops recording. So I get something that is theoretically synchronized to the main camera. That should make post-production a little bit easier. I'm kind of hoping that it does, and it gets me off my butt to actually edit stuff that's been in the can for literally 3 years. All right, my face is probably getting a little dark here because I'm backlit by the sun, but if I did any color correction in post, then hopefully I can brighten that up a little bit. But you are seeing some nice color depth out of the sky. I probably need to get something like a mist filter or neutral density filter to compensate for these kind of bright sunlight situations. Those clip onto the front of the lens through a set of magnets. This is one of the cool features on the Pocket ever since it came out. That, yeah, if you want to filter on the camera, nice little magnetic system, clips right on. Of course, bigger sensor, bigger lens, the old filters aren't compatible. It's a technology product. What were you expecting? Compatibility back through infinite time? Not going to happen. So the creator's kit does come with a wide angle lens, which I'm using right now. You can also see the comparison of that wide-angle lens to two shots I took of the very spectacular Capitol building. It's got a, not quite a Hall of Justice vibe, more of a the beacons are lit, Gondor calls for aid kind of thing going on. So any cosplay photographers, Olympia, Washington, state capitol, avoid the leaf blowers. But yeah, the wide-angle lens I think is a necessity for this kind of walk-around blogging, because without it, I think the field's a little bit too narrow. This was a problem on some of the older pockets as well. So the wide-angle lens was a popular thing you could buy straight from DJI or other third-party suppliers like Ulanzi that are famous on the South American river-themed commerce website. Really, this is just kind of an excuse to break up a 5-hour car drive with a nice walk around when it's actually sunny in November. And there's that helicopter, once again testing my audio quality. Thanks, medical helicopter. I appreciate your support. Not just as a medical service, but also helping me test audio. Ooh, this is looking kind of sharp now on my preview screen. This is the other big benefit of the Pocket 3. It's got like a 2.4 inch flip screen. The flip screen serves a couple of functions. Okay, 3. One, it looks cool when you flip the screen over. This reminds me of my old, if anybody uses Sidekick or Sidekick 2 back on T-Mobile, it's got a very good Sidekick vibe to it. Just kind of a satisfying thunk as the screen is deployed. Yeah, the thing I found hard on the previous Pocket cameras was just really the size of the screen. Made it hard to get into the menu options, and you really need to tame the menu options on this camera to get good quality. The Pocket 3 solves that through this bigger screen, so it's easier to set the professional features that you're finding on the camera. It's easier to get a good preview. I mean, look at the detail in this background. It's really nice. I'm shooting in 10-bit HLG right now. You can also do D-Log and just standard 8-bit depth if you don't really care about color correcting or having more bits to play with in post. Yeah, my issue with the Android app is that it's an APK that you sideload, which is legitimately a security risk. Like my company thinks it's a security risk, so I have trouble getting it on a phone provided by a corporation or government entity that has side loading controls enabled, so you don't download like pirated apps or malicious apps. I don't know why it's not in the official Android store, because it's going to block a lot of people from using it, and it will open some users up to scams or security problems if somebody decides that DJI is popular enough to make a fake version of the app. Apple doesn't seem to have that problem, so I'm not sure why the deviation in the stores. Keep in mind, DJI is a Chinese-owned company. There's some complications with international stores and all that, but still, it used to be in the App Store, and then somewhere between the Pocket and Pocket 2, they dropped it. So I can get it side-loaded on some of my phones, but honestly, with the bigger screen, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I know, I'm backlit, but God, that sky looks really good, doesn't it? Totally worth paying $2 for parking to walk around the Capitol for a few minutes. The thing I like about this camera is the usability. Like, I could get my Fuji X-S20, buy a $400 or $500 gimbal mount, and get like stunning footage out of it that puts this to shame. However, it's more complicated, it's bigger, it's not as easy to set up. This is just, I mean, it's probably one of the better point and click situations I've had with a gimbal camera ever since I've started using gimbal cameras. So it's not an action camera. Don't expect this to replace one of the Osmo action style cameras or the GoPros. It's not as durable, but from a stability, ease of use standpoint, quality of footage, and just, you know, comparison to its predecessors, it's great. It is more expensive. So I spent close to $700 on the creator's kit. So that's the camera, the extra battery handle, a tiny little tripod, a dock if you want to use as webcam. Oh, this has a webcam mode. The webcam mode is awesome. You get tracked around your office space while you're on the video call. It's kind of nice. Also, the integrated microphone works in webcam mode in case you're doing like corporate presentation stuff. I find it very handy. But yeah, I think the $700 for everything you get in the kit is worth it, because if you wanted to add a third-party microphone, then you'd have to buy a dongle on the Pocket 2, to go to 1/8 inch, and then you still got to buy the microphone, and then it doesn't pair, it doesn't sync, it doesn't do 32-bit float. I think it's a pretty good value. A lot of the things that I would have done at the Pocket 2 to get it up to this usability probably would have been still a little bit cheaper than the Creator's Kit, but everything being integrated and the upgraded image quality, it wasn't hard to justify spending the money on that. Anyway, I think my walk around Olympia, Washington is coming to a close. Hopefully I'll be doing more tech-oriented stuff and get back on the bandwagon for nerdsteading pretty soon. Yeah, I gotta do stuff in the shop, which means I gotta show you how it's organized. Pause for cyclist. So I gotta ride my bike more like this guy up here. Anyway, if you got a sunny day out in November, go enjoy it. Winter is coming. Anyway, signing off. This is siliconchef. Keep it nerdy and look both ways before you cross the street in Olympia. You might get hit by an electric vehicle. Have fun.